Word Smart Jr., Chapter 1, The Fateful Meeting, Part 2. Why do you want to help me? Frankly, I'm quite bored, and I have nothing better to do, sighed Babette. Bridget grinned. Now that was an answer she could believe. This Babette might be as cool as she looked after all. She got up and offered her hand to Babette. My name's Bridget, she said. Let's get going. Babette shook her hand and they started walking away. How did you know I was American, anyway? Asked Bridget, as they rounded a curve in the path that headed for the street. You are, well, conspicuous. You stick out, you see. Your hat, your blue jeans, these are a very American clothes. Your hat is very nice, especially, very chic. All the most stylish Parisians want to wear these hats. Thanks. You're pretty chic yourself, said Bridget. I'll tell you what. If you find my parents, you can have the hat. Deal? Deal, said Babette. It seemed like she was smiling, but it was hard to tell what was going on behind those dark sunglasses. The two new friends walked out into the busy sidewalk to begin their mission. And if they had paused to look over their shoulders, they would have seen that they were not alone. A gigantic, elegant black cat was following right behind them. Bridget and Babette had been walking along in silence for a while, when suddenly Babette came to an abrupt stop, in front of what looked like an apartment building. In fact, it was such a run-down, ugly apartment building, it might have been safe to call it a tenement. We must go in here, she said. Well, okay, I guess, said Bridget hesitantly. She didn't like the look of the place at all. What is this building, anyway? It is a dormitory for all the science students at the university, Babette replied as she opened the door. It is where all the young geniuses live. When they are not in their laboratories, that is. We are here to see my friend Barnaby. He is American like you. It is my belief he may be able to help us find your parents. Great, chirped Bridget as they walked into the building, followed by Beauregard the cat. Let's find him. I must warn you, Barnaby has his quirks. Just odd little habits, of course, but some people are put off by them, Babette calmly explained as they walked up the stairs. What kind of quirks? Asked Bridget, who was becoming more nervous and uneasy about the whole thing with each step they took. Nothing to worry about, really. His most noticeable idiosyncrasy is his hair. He has hair unlike any other person's. It is his trademark. He is also the most brilliant person I know. He entered the university when he was only 10 years old. A boy wonder, I believe they called him. But he is still so young. And he is excitable. Ah, she said, stopping in front of a plain wooden door. Here is his room. Knock, please. Bridget gave the door a couple of tentative taps with her right hand. She was almost grateful there was no response. He's not in. Let's go, she said. Babette smiled and started beating the door with both her fists. Don't be so timid about it. Barnaby! Barnaby! She yelled. Open this door at once! Just then, the door jerked open and a strange-looking boy popped his head out. His hair was bushy, long, and pale, and stuck a couple of feet off his head in every direction, like a crazy lion's mane. Beneath that wild mop, his face was that of an ordinary boy. To call him unkempt would be putting it mildly. He looked like a bird, had nested in his hair, and his lab coat looked as though it had never been anywhere near a washing machine. The boy wonder seemed bewildered at first, as if the two girls and a giant cat had never paid him a visit before. But after a few seconds he smiled, wildly flung the door open. "Hey, Babette!" he cried, beckoning her to come into the room with a wave of his hand. "Come in here, quick! You have to see my latest experiment." The place was filled with bubbling test tubes, strangely colored liquids, a bunch of dead insects, and a huge array of vegetable plants, everything from alfalfa to yams. As you can see from my little green friends here, my experiment is botanical in nature. Yes, Babette, I have long been tortured by the plight of plants, the innocent vegetable in particular, he lamented. Oh, how the poor plants suffer! They have such beauty, but unfortunately, no legs, no arms, so they can't fight off these cruel and despicable bugs. He smashed his hand down on a pile of dead mealybugs. Until now, there was no choice but to spray these lovely vegetables with poisons so toxic they polluted the soil and contaminated the waters. But no more. My invention will do away with these poisons. They simply won't be needed anymore. They will be completely obsolete. At last we will... Hey, he paused suddenly. Who let that cat in here? All eyes turned to the cat, who was, it appeared, sleeping in the doorway. "I have seen this cat before," said Babette. "He chases pigeons in the Bois de Boulogne, and makes amorous advances toward every female cat he sees. Oh, he is so ridiculous, yet so harmless." They all giggled, and the cat seemed to grumble in his sleep. Yes, well, as I was saying, at last we will defeat the creeping killers, Barnaby muttered. "Man, something smells foul in here," said Bridget, wrinkling up her face. "What stinks?" "Aha, you see, it works," cried Barnaby, clapping his hands. Bridget looked puzzled. "Are you nuts or something?" "Not at all, not at all. Allow me to explain. What you smell are gym socks. Dirty gym socks that have been worn for an entire semester without a wash and left in a locker. You don't like the smell, eh?" asked Barnaby, smiling. He paused for a moment. "Well, let me tell you something. Bugs hate the smell, but it goes beyond simple aversion to the smell of my gym socks. They detest the smell so much they can't bear to come near it, and it also inhibits the growth of some plant fungi. But it doesn't stop it altogether. Those socks even killed these mealybugs," he said, wiping his hand off on his lab coat. "Yes, the day of bug is over. No longer will these pests destroy our crops and cause famines. Preventing starvation is a wonderful cause, but surely, Barnaby, there are not enough disgusting gym socks in the world to keep the insects off all the crops," offered Babette. "An astute observation. You are sharp as ever. No, unfortunately, there aren't enough socks to go around. So I've been trying to capture the essence of the disgusting gym socks, the thing that makes it tick. It is the odor of foot. Is it the odor of foot, the sweat, the toenail grime? Once I discover this, I can use a variety of ingredients to create a synthetic spray that has the same effect as the real thing. It will be very potent. Ah, yes, no one will doubt its power, but it will not be poison." Bridget rolled her eyes. Barnaby seemed a little full of himself, and pompous people always really irked her. "Look, my name is Bridget, and Babette here thinks you can help me find my parents." "So, you've lost your parents, huh? I know exactly how you feel. Yes, you have my sympathy. I once lost my parents for an entire year. Or rather, it seems I forgot to call them for an entire year while I was studying tropical birds in the Amazon rainforest. So you could say they lost me, I suppose. It's upsetting either way. Yes. Barnaby scratched his head. Bridget wasn't sure, but it looked as though he had pulled a wristwatch out of his bushy hair. Or maybe he already had the wristwatch. Time to check the solution, he cried. The young scientist scurried over to a large beaker full of bubbling, smoking, grayish liquid and carefully calculated the temperature, all the while mumbling to himself. Then he filled an eyedropper full of bubbling blue liquid from another beaker and added it to the gray muck. Next he agitated the unholy mixture by picking up the beaker and giving it a shaking so vigorous it made him break out in a sweat. Ladies, he announced, you are about to witness scientific history. With that he began a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Barnaby never reached the end of the countdown. Around 4, a terrible rumbling began, then an explosion, then a horrible, horrible smell. Quick! We must vacate the building at once! Out! Out! Shrieked Barnaby. The girls and the cat were all too happy to comply. They ran out the door and down the street. There they stopped to catch their breath, which they had been holding for a couple of minutes. Oh, what a stupid blunder, gasped Barnaby. How could I have made such a mistake? There, there, said Babette, not very convincingly. It was my ego that made me do it, my foolish pride. I thought I was smarter than those Vogelstellienstein, than the great Vogelstellienstein, a scientist renowned all over the world for his brilliantly simple discoveries. How I envy his genius. It was he who suggested cigar smoke as an insect repellent. Naturally, since cigar smoke is a carcinogen, I thought it was best not to encourage farmers to smoke in their fields, lest they develop lung cancer. How was I to know gym socks could be worse than cigars? Barnaby seemed near tears. Look, don't sweat it. Quit worrying about it, said Bridget. Yes, I suppose you're right, he said, changing moods abruptly. After all, I'm only an amateur when it comes to botany. My true profession is physics. Still, I do enjoy dabbling in the other sciences. But this little accident doesn't bode well for me. It's the third explosion I've caused this week, and the university said they'd have to send me home if I continued to destroy their property. I guess my announcement of my great discovery was premature. I must do more tests to verify the results so that I can be absolutely certain they are correct. In the meantime, I should probably go and try to straighten up. Nonsense, snapped Babette. We have a very important matter to take care of. Let the university sort through all the broken glass and debris. We must find Bridget's parents. I apologize, of course. Where do we begin? Asked Barnaby. Well, let's leave it there. This video is getting kind of long. So this is the second part of our adventure. So let's go over some of the words we used. Well, since I don't know where we started, I guess we'll look at these words a little later. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Come back for part 3 of chapter 1, and we'll continue with this book. Till then, who loves you, baby? This guy, don't forget it. Remember, you're somebody's favorite person in this world. Probably mine. So till next time, love you and goodbye.